Okay, gents, switching gears. Let's focus on match week 6 in the Premier League. Two massive games coming up. Chelsea against Manchester City and Arsenal against Tottenham. Massive North London derby. That headlines the action. Nick, let's focus on Chelsea against Manchester City. Massive game. You'd have to say in the title race now. These are the two title favourites. I know Andy and I were big on Chelsea pre-season. You were back in Man City to repeat as champions. What are you looking for in this game? Kevin De Bruyne's just kind of edging his way back to full fitness. So's N'Golo Kante. That seems like a big battle in midfield in particular, but what a game this should be, the repeat of the Champions League final from last season.
I cannot stress enough how much I love this being the 7:30 kickoff Eastern time. I cannot stress enough. Starting my weekend with Chelsea and Man City is... I don't know if I'm prepared for that. Do I have to stretch first? Do I have to wake up all of my children and play a possession game in the living room? Like, what do I need to do? Because I'm going to be so ready for it. I'm not even willing to predict what happens in this game because I think it could be a hard-fought slugfest that there's only one goal. I also think it could be 5-4 somehow. After Chelsea showed us what they showed us on a day that Lukaku was dangerous but didn't finish, that they were going to get goals from Kante and Rudiger and Thiago Silva, who was excellent. Ruben Diaz has been very good. The injuries to City, that makes me a little bit more nervous than anything else. But then again, they're going to play Tuesday. They're going to have a little bit more time to prepare for it. So anything could happen here. But if Chelsea wins, I won't back off my Man City prediction, but they'll be the clear favorite to win everything. Sorry, Man United fans.
Andy, I mean, Chelsea have just had Man City's number. Tuchel just, we talk often about that late night meeting him and Guardiola had in the bar in Munich many, many years ago to pick his brain tactically. I feel like he's just taken all of that knowledge like a sponge, soaked it up and just used it against Pep because he always seems to just work out something, whether it be Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League. Chelsea just seem to find a way, and they've got that almost horrible mentality about them of Azpilicueta, Rudiger, Silva, Kante. Just grinding team. Jorginho's been excellent in the last few months. They just can work it out, right? Are they the favourites heading into this game? And are they more ruthless than Manchester City right now in the Premier League title race?
Yes. All the yeses to those. And I think Tuchel was probably buying the drinks that night as well in the hotel. He had to have been... Keep him coming. He's spilling the secrets. He got everything from Guardiola apparently that night because, he has had Manchester City's number. I think a bit of that is Pep kind of shooting himself in the foot a bit as he tends to do in some of these big games, overthinking it a little bit, changing things when he's got a formula that's been pretty successful. But I think a lot of it also is Tuchel, and we have to give him, we have to give Chelsea, we have to give Conte, we have to give all the players a lot of credit because what they do when they set up for these big games is they don't really try to go out and play their way. They try to take away the best thing that you do. And with Manchester City, that's obviously a lot of possession. So you can't take that away when you've got players that have as much talent and skill and just the intelligence that Manchester City do. So what do? They dictate to Manchester City in these games where on the field they can have that possession. They're not going to have it in the final third. You're going to have it in the middle third of the field. We're going to drop back just a little bit deeper once you enter, once you cross midfield. We're not going to give the ball in behind. We're going to make you keep it there where we've got three center backs, where we've got two wing backs, where we've got a defensive midfielder in N'Golo Kante, who might as well count as three people. And that's just really hard to break down. And then what do Chelsea do? They're really good on the counterattack. They're going to be better on the counterattack now that they have a center forward with the size, the speed, the strength, the hold-up play, the vision, the passing, the finishing, the complete finished product in Romelu Lukaku up top. I think Chelsea got to be big favorites for this game. And I think if they go out and put in a good performance and it looks like something of a dominant victory over Manchester City, I think they have to be massive favorites for the title at that point.
I agree with you. And I think Lukaku against Ruben Diaz, that is one heck of a battle we're going to see there tactically. And just Lukaku, for me, has improved so much in terms of finding the pockets of space and being calm and composed with his hold-up play. That was the big difference from when he was in the Premier League last time in Manchester United, went away with Inter Milan and with Belgium, really worked on that. And it's sensational. He didn't score against Tottenham last time out, did everything but that. He set up, his teammates, was willing poor Timo Werner to score, just putting chances on a plate for him that he couldn't put away. And I actually want to see that partnership as well. As strange as that seems, I think Werner alongside Lukaku for part of this would actually create a lot of gaps in this Man City defense for Lukaku to exploit, just like we saw in the Champions League final last season. So that all being said, let's not write off Pep Guardiola and Man City just yet. I mean, Jack Grealish, Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, Foden, De Bruyne, Gabriel Jesus, Ferran Torres. That's an incredible list of attacking players, whoever they line up. But I do worry about them just being clinical and being ruthless. I mean, they had one shot on target against Southampton in that draw at home last week. And that was in the 93rd minute, was it? When Foden had the header on goal that was saved. And then Sterling followed it up and it was disallowed for offside. So very unlike Man City. I do wonder if Pep Guardiola's put a little bit extra pressure and focus on them by complaining about some of the attendances at the Etihad. I just don't think he needed to A, say that, and then B, double down on that. That seemed like a pretty ridiculous argument to get dragged into. And it's a bit peculiar. Man City seem to do this, right? They have a great season, win a lot of trophies, and then they dip. And we've seen it under, Mancini, Pellegrini, and obviously Guardiola in the past as well. And you just have to get lucky of injuries. John Stones being out has hurt them, of course. And that lack of a central striker, again, we keep talking about it. They are going to score a lot of goals, but it's just when you're in these big game situations, and if Chelsea figure out how to stop you, if you don't have a plan B coming off the bench or a way to mix it up, which I don't think Man City do right now, that's going to be a problem over the course of, the entire season in the Champions League and the Premier League. So Chelsea against Man City at Stamford Bridge is going to be one heck of a game. Tuchel against Guardiola, Lukaku against Diaz, Kante against De Bruyne. So many great individual tactical battles. Cannot wait for that. And over on Pro Soccer Talk and NBCSports.com, we'll give you all the build-up this week on how to watch, team news, preview, stream links, everything else you need from Stamford Bridge. It's going to be one heck of a battle. And talking about a heck of a battle, next game to focus on, Arsenal against Tottenham Hotspur. Both teams haven't had great starts to the season. Tottenham slightly better than Arsenal. But I feel like this one word sums these teams up still. Transition. Tottenham have been in transition for a while since Pochettino left. Obviously now, under Nuno Espirito Santo, second phase of that after Mourinho left. Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, so many new players coming in, still finding their feet. A couple of uninspiring wins against Norwich and Burnley. Haven't really done a lot for the confidence for the Gunners, but Andy, what are you looking at ahead of this game? Arsenal looks slightly better at the back, right, with Ben White and Ramsdale and some of the other signings they made. It actually seemed to have shored things up, but this is going to be a big test for them against Harry Kane and Son, and a very good counter-attacking Tottenham team on their day.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but thank goodness these teams have each other, right? The fact that they can struggle the way that they have, the way that they can just get lost in the forest and just wandering around. And then suddenly twice a year, they always find each other and they always get to do this. And we get to pretend like, this is it is a big matchup. It is a big battle. It is a really, really big rivalry and derby, but it's between two teams who, I guess I agree a little bit that they're in transition. Spurs obviously in transition 5 games into the Nuno era. I guess I would question what are Arsenal in transition of. They're transitioning their squad, which they've built over the last couple seasons very irresponsibly, and so they're trying to fix some of those issues. So it's a bit self-inflicted on their side. I think a lot of Spurs' struggles early in the season are also self-inflicted. The first few games, way too defensive from Nuno. I didn't love the midfield of Højbjerg, Ndombele, and Lo Celso.
Yeah.
Lo Celso, I don't see it. I've seen enough, I guess, is what I should say. I see nothing from him that says that he can be a really productive player in the Premier League, especially in the way that Spurs are playing under Nuno. So I don't know. This is just there's so many moving pieces going on with Spurs right now. The players coming back in from international duty and the quarantine, and they have to play Chelsea and they have to play Arsenal. It's just Harry Kane's been the worst that he's ever been. And we've seen some bad Kane performances over the years when he was injured and trying to play through them. But he's been, are we sure he's trying? Are we actually sure that Harry Kane is trying? Because everything that he did last season, it wasn't about the goals. It was more about the assists and the linking of play and the passing and the defensive work. And he's just not doing any of that. And I know Son wasn't available on the weekend, and that plays a big part into it. But it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of problems with Spurs right now. They look a lot like Arsenal, or Arsenal look a lot like Tottenham. I don't know. Again, thank God these two teams have each other.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, Nick had a big gulp of beer there before he knew I was going to come to him to ask about Arsenal. It kind of sums up the situation in North London, I think, quite nicely for both of these teams. But on Harry Kane, firstly, if your heart's not in it and you don't want to be there, and he's clearly told Tottenham he doesn't want to be there anymore, then the motivation levels are going to take a hit. And the little percentages at the top level, be it doing extra training, be it going that extra mile on the pitch, putting yourself in harm's way to get an injury, that just seems to be missing, that little edge from his game this season so far. He's obviously a quality player. He'll obviously still probably score 20-plus goals this season. But there is a concern there for Tottenham when your entire attacking unit essentially is built around him. And I'd argue they look better when he hasn't been in the team this season with Son, Moura, and Bergwijn. A counter-attacking team, Nuno's tactics, it seems to work a little bit better. But, you know, we'll get there. But Nick, just on Arsenal changing gears, I mean, what do you see under Mikel Arteta that gives you any hope for them moving forward? Because there is slightly more positive vibes around them, right? After these couple of wins in weeks.
I don't want to read the riot act to a club that's been read the riot act for 5 years, going back to the Wenger out days. But yeah, I mean, they were better last week because two world-class players did world-class things. Thomas Partey looked pretty good, and he hasn't played much. And Odegaard scored a splendid free kick. But the team is not good. But you laugh, Andy, but you know me and my numbers, okay? How about this? You look at expected goals. Tottenham is second worst to Norwich. But the immovable force, but the opposite? Arsenal's expected goals against, second worst to Newcastle. And if you were just to go by expected points, because remember that game that Spurs won against Man City, the XG was completely in the other direction. These teams are both in the bottom six. So I think this is one of those games where you've got a derby. Maybe we saw it in the past with much lower teams, Newcastle, Sunderland, or way back in the day with Villa, Birmingham, where the team that wins is going to say, we won the derby, we could turn our season around, and everyone else is going to say, yeah, but who did you beat?
Sounds like you're talking about Manchester United, Nick. Who have they beaten? Who have they played? Yeah,
they've never played anyone, ever.
It is sobering, I think, for Arsenal and Tottenham fans. I think this season under Mikel Arteta and Nuno Espirito Santo, they're going to have to trust the process, right? They're going to have to listen to the same things most weeks from these managers about getting the players into a system, working hard, molding. I think there's more pressure on Arteta, obviously, but Nuno, he knows he was kind of downbeat, and after the defeat to Chelsea last time out, it just underlined all the work that Tottenham have to do under him. And it's going to take time. And we know that Premier League fans and directors, and they're not the most patient people in the world. And it's going to be really, really hard for these two teams to compete with the top four, Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea this season. So I think finishing 5th or 6th would be a huge achievement for both of these teams if that did happen. And, you know, the way that Leicester and West Ham are playing and other teams, that you think they could still do that. I kind of feel like that is possible this season, given the regression of some of the other teams who have been upstarts in recent years. But it's certainly going to be a battle in that London derby at the Emirates. And I think the winner is just going to be who defends better, basically, who can defend and try and have that bit of quality. Can Son or Kane spark Tottenham to victory? Can Odegaard or Aubameyang do the same for Arsenal? That's kind of where they're at right now. And they've got to build that momentum and build that belief in these young teams a little bit, and with a lot of new players, to believing they can achieve a top 6 finish. And it sounds kind of horrible for Arsenal and Tottenham, given how much money they spend and the quality of players they have, but they are a long, long way off the top 4. I think we can all agree on that. Focusing on some of the other big games in the Premier League this weekend, Manchester United against Aston Villa. Huge game there. Obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo, can he keep it going? Can Man United just keep scraping the wins? Obviously, just somehow got by West Ham United last time out of a late Lingard winner and David De Gea's heroics stopping Mark Noble. as David Moyes did his best Gareth Southgate impression by bringing Noble on late on to take a penalty kick. Aston Villa, though, they look very good, explosive. Leon Bailey, Danny Ings. Going forward, Villa look very, very good. I do worry about them defending against Man United's attackers, though. So I feel like United will get the better of Villa in that one. Andy, do you disagree with that?
There's going to be goals in this game. There's definitely going to be goals in this game, and I'll tell you why. The two defensive midfielders for United against West Ham, Fred and McTominay. Whether it's Fred and McTominay, whether it's Matic, I will keep coming back to this every single week. That defensive midfield spot is a huge problem for this team. It's the reason that West Ham got their goal. West Ham should have had a second goal. They should have equalized. They should have taken a point. United should have dropped points. Manchester United is far from a finished product in terms of the squad and the roster and how it's built and how the team sets itself up. I think that's the number one thing that separates them from Chelsea and even from Manchester City is at least you know how the team sets itself up. With those other teams, you still don't quite know because there's a lot of new pieces, there's a lot of moving parts in the United team. So I kind of like Villa to get something out of this game this weekend. They were really good against Everton, and Leon Bailey, if he's going to get healthy, he changed that game completely when he came off the bench.
He did. Brilliant signing. You kind of see Villa spending the Jack Grealish money very well with Buendia, Ings, and Bailey. They obviously had a plan. They knew he was going to leave, and I think they're going to be top 10 at the very worst this season, and maybe just push for Europe under Dean Smith. Okay, Crystal Palace against Brighton, massive derby. The M23 derby, whatever you want to call it. Geographically, they're not too close, but they just hate each other, those two teams. So the Eagles and Seagulls collide at Selhurst. Kind of fancy Patrick Vieira's men here to get a win. Zaha, Odson Edouard. They were unlucky against Liverpool. They could have scored a couple in the first half last time out. Caused a lot of problems. I think defensively, they just got to keep improving. Brighton, Nick, I know they're your darlings down on the South Coast. Graham Potter, Chuck Norris, as we like to call him on this show. I mean, they've had some really good wins early in the season, but I'd argue that the schedule's been pretty favourable for them. So, yeah, Palace, Brighton, your quick thoughts on this one?
These have been fun games to watch generally over the last couple of years. And I actually like both of the teams. It's one of those things where you're glad you don't have to choose because I love Selhurst Park. I love just saying Eagles versus Seagulls, the alliterative quality there. I think it could go either way. Lately, every time you want to predict who's going to win this game, the other team seizes the momentum. And there are so many pieces here to like on either team. I do like Palace to come away with, at least the draw. I think home field is huge in this instance. But that said, Brighton's just been finding ways to get it done, even if it's controversial against Leicester. So, yeah, it's another one, much like Chelsea, Man City, that I not in terms of what it means to the table, but just sit down with the popcorn, enjoy the atmosphere. Selhurst Park, when it's buzzing, and it'll be buzzing for this, is a lot of fun to watch a game. So let's just have a bunch of birds doing their thing and enjoy the game.
Wow. Yeah, I love seeing you do that. I love seeing you get excited about Brighton. Other games to keep an eye on, Leicester against Burnley, Leeds against West Ham, Brentford against Liverpool. That could be a bit of an upset there on the cards. Brentford have done very well. Great win at Wolves last time out. So let's wait and see what happens this week in the Premier League. But we have analysis, recaps, reaction, previews, how to watch stream links up on Pro Soccer Talk and NBCSports.com ahead of this weekend. Going to be a fun one, boys. This has been a fun one. Thanks so much for joining me for the latest Pro Soccer Talk. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And we will speak to you all very soon indeed.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches and much more.